Rarely has mankind hesitated to eradicate the creatures that stand in the path of his conquest. If we find intelligent species, ritual extirpation, undesirable invaders from another world, the rest must be destroyed. Is it possible that our dark past should be itself? Watch them and pray.
Greetings, ladies, gentlemen, government agents, the clinically sleep deprived, and anybody who might be listening. This is Close Encounters of the Podcast Kind, continuing onward with our series about the Dark Lord Satan, aka the Devil. I am your host, Tasker, as usual, and our other hosts, we have the fantabulous Nick.
Oh, I'm so excited because the devil is my sugar daddy.
Wow, so interested you're actually turning into a musical.
Yeah, man, I was watching some old videos of Britney Spears, dude. She had what it took.
Didn't she just like re-release some album or something like that lately?
Probably just to make some money. But man, you know what? I know she did a deal with the devil to make her career.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see her singing a whole album about all the shit we're talking about today. It's going to be awesome, dude. Just like, but picture Britney Spears in a black metal band. Picture it. Beautiful.
It's actually shocking how easy that was to picture and how interested I am actually in seeing that pan out.
Well, shit. Somebody call her manager.
Yeah, let's make it happen. So show her this podcast and hopefully we can convince her.
Oh, baby.
And actually, not in this part, but the next part, we'll get into musicians who may or may not have sold their souls to the devil. But we're going to get to that, of course, another day. Today is a big one, guys. This is, oh my God, this might be our longest episode yet. I stayed up very late working on this and woke up very early and was unable to go back to sleep, be that the curse of Satan or who knows what. But you know what? We're doing it live.
We're doing it live. And you know what, guys, really quick, I just wanted to point out, Tasker has been taking the research by the balls on this series, right? He has been grasping it firmly in the crotch. So that being said, he will be taking the reins on the actual podcast today. I'm going to be sitting back as if I was back in history class again in 8th grade, taking notes, nodding out every once in a while, and smoking in the boys' room. So I will be doing that while Tasker is going to be telling you guys about the biblical devil today.
Yeah, if it helps you picture it, just imagine me in front of the classroom and Nick literally, like, there's a whole bunch of desks and Nick is sitting in the farthest back corner and in this empty classroom. And as I'm just like barking at Nick while he's like trying to light a cigarette with a paper clip and scrap paper.
Yeah, and I'm just like, hey, fuck off, teacher. I got things to do.
Would not have it any other way. That being said, let's jump into it. So last week, we went over some baseline knowledge of who Satan is, his general powers and abilities, and the different forms he can take, and the different names he can go by. So today, we're going to go into a closer look into his generally accepted origin story, as well as his role as God's enemy and how Satan factors into the apocalypse. Honestly, I was kind of surprised actually at the research of this episode. Because a lot of common knowledge of Satan and like the apocalypse and like what he's capable of is actually not canon in the Bible at all, but was instead made for TV and literature to sell. Like, it's a little disappointing. So if you're expecting fire and brimstone this entire episode, a lot of that stuff is actually not real.
Because that's what sells, like Tasker said, like sex. Sex sells. There's not that much sex in the Bible, right? But there's a lot of incestuous sex in the Bible, which is pretty fucking metal. And it kind of adds up. You know, it's all good.
You see, back then, their idea of juicy is a little different than what our idea of juicy is now. And that's another thing. That's a big theme of this episode is what's juicy and what is not.
Steak or potatoes. One of them is juicy. One of them is not. One of them is for kings. One of them is for Irish people.
Wait, juicy potatoes?
Oh, steaks. Steaks are juicy. Potatoes are not juicy, and they're also dirt people food.
Okay. Calm down, son of Satan. Alrighty, so we shall begin with the story of a fallen angel. This is where The history of Earth and the plight of God versus Satan and the fate of humanity begins.
Also known as Nick's biography.
Yeah. Yeah, you can actually quote me on that as the title. I just want I don't demand too much royalties. Maybe just like maybe a quick handy every now and again.
I can do that.
Yeah, and I want it to be like an Indian burn too. I know that's your specialty. So, Satan's backstory begins with the idea of him being an angel that rebelled against God. Lucifer, which is what he was known generally, like we said last week, was an archangel, which is a type of chief angel of the highest order. Also, really quick too, we, as I said before, and as I will keep saying consistently, we're sticking more towards the Christian canon because this thing is already huge enough with just the Christian canon. That tends to be the one that makes it into the movies, so that's the one we're talking about.
Yeah, we're not doing the EU, all right? No expanded universe. We're not doing the book, all right? Just what's canon.
Exactly. We're not going to do like what they tried to do with the Star Wars sequel trilogy.
Yeah, those motherfuckers. I will never forgive them. I will never forgive them for what they did.
They're watchable, but not good. I'll say that. And I'm going to stop it right there because we will discuss that. And we do not have that kind of time. Remember, this is a dense episode, everybody. So, Lucifer, widely considered to be the most beautiful and wisest of all the angels, he also had the nickname of the Guardian Cherub, which, yeah, it's kind of cute, right? It makes you think of like a big chubby baby.
So cute.
Right. So this big chubby baby had great power, influence, and pride in being one of the most favored angels by God, which got him all kinds of juicy, exclusive intel, but also a bit of a big head. Lucifer became very dissatisfied with being a number two to God, believing himself to have become more powerful, beautiful, and deserving of worship than God himself by his fellow angels. Lucifer possibly viewed God as a tyrant to his fellow angels, mostly believing that God had forsaken the care of angels in favor of humanity. So, Lucifer is basically jealous that God loved humans more than him, and he felt that daddy didn't love him as much, so he started to get a little bit of an ego, and which is a very dangerous, sinful trait that really is what corrupted him to begin with, supposedly. And actually, that's great that we brought up Star Wars because I have a quote from Star Wars, which is
Shit.
I am not kidding. That was not planned. That's wonderful. Which is from Yoda. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. And hate. Hold on. I got Nick. I got to do this right.
Okay, do it right.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. And hate leads to suffering.
Beautiful. That was excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, I did do 3 years of theater back in high school that I fapped to that memory every now and again.
A regular Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. I that's where my bald head comes from is emulation.
And you know what? Speaking really quick of the point you brought up with Lucifer and how he got an ego, some say that Lucifer is the embodiment of one of the 7 deadly sins, being pride.
Yes. I think we touched on that last episode. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm also like so spatially unaware right now. I couldn't tell you. But yes, deadly sin, and Lucifer is like the personification of that. He is pride, and to be a personification of a deadly sin is not a great badge of honor.
I mean, dude, I don't know. I am the personification of gluttony, and then I'm fine.
This is very true. And if you've ever had the pleasure of seeing Nick eat ungodly amounts of food in person, it's both infuriating, disgusting, but amazing.
I'm so hungry right now. Okay, so where are we going now with Lucifer, Tasker?
Right. So Lucifer getting a bit of an ego, jealous of humanity, and basically his like position that he starts to build to start to rally angels on his side was saying that was actually kind of Hitler-like the way he did it, where he was saying that God was a tyrant, forcing them away from their true greatness, trying to keep them under him because he was an all omniscient being and he wanted to keep it that way. So
Big
Lucifer,
God was
What's that?
Hitler or Lucifer was Hitler?
Lucifer was Hitler. Well, Hitler was more Lucifer-like.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, but I can see that. I can see that.
Oh
Who's
yeah, Hitler is a very long episode. I'll tell you that.
All right,
So,
continue. I'm sorry.
yeah, it's all good. So basically, Lucifer had a bunch, as we said before, he had a bunch of respect and influence in heaven. So he rallied everybody, not everybody. I think he got like a third of all angels to side with him, saying that, yeah, God's a tyrant and what he's doing ain't cool. So we should turn on him. And Lucifer saying, y'all should worship me because I am like you. I am an angel. I know what you want and I know what you need and I can help you. God doesn't know that. He just knows that he's the almighty creator and like, fuck that. So basically, after rallying all of his forces, he attempts a coup on heaven itself. But big surprise. And I know you wanted me to use this language, was God put on his Doc Martens and curb stomped his ass. Is that correct?
That's right. That's gangster right there. That's some thug shit.
Which is, it's not too far off from the truth. Satan was the strongest angel to ever exist, basically, but he was no match for God himself. And actually, there's a book called Paradise Lost by John Milton. Well, that's actually an epic poem, which is a sort of retelling of this story, but with more of a like human slant to Satan and stuff. But in that poem, this battle that happened was actually said to have lasted 3 days, but God wasn't involved until the third day, and he basically just one-shotted Satan and his entire army.
Wow, 360 no scoped him, huh?
Yep. No hacks, no nothing, just pure skill.
Damn.
And after that, Satan, it's a little bit of a point of conjecture, but they say he was either cast down onto Earth or he was cast directly into hell. There's still, we're not really, a lot of this, as you'll come to find, is pretty convoluted. So we'll say, well, maybe a little bit of both. But basically, him and all of his followers were all cast down. A third of all angels, like that's a lot. So Lucifer is known as the great deceiver, right? He's the ultimate, like, at tomfoolery, bamboozlement. So this guy is so good at that. He was able to convince angels to turn on God. Like, just as a perspective of like, this ain't no like joke, like fluke. Like Lucifer is he's a pretty trifling foe, I would say. So fallen angels become demons and act as his forces in hell to enact his plans. And I figure the best way to wrap this all up is a pretty cool, you can't do an episode on Satan without throwing a couple Bible verses in. Maybe I'm saying that because I actually think it's cool, or maybe I'm saying that to hopefully bless this episode so we don't have some creepy shit going on.
Well, why would you do that? Why would you go and do something like that, Tasker, when I've been waiting my whole life for some creepy shit to happen? You're just going to block me like that?
Yeah, because I am the yin to your yang. I am here to bring balance to the force.
Oh, so you hold on. All of a sudden, you're Ray.
Remember? No, how dare you?
Hey, well, I'm just saying what's canon. Remember, I'm Disney, and I just made that canon. Remember? Oh, it's not. Who's Anakin? Fuck that
guy. Yeah.
I know. It's fucking infuriating, isn't it?
It's very infuriating. Just the fact that like anybody thinks that Ray is the one that really brought balance to the Force is wrong. Like that's why I would venture to say that the sequel trilogy just isn't canon. Like I will sign whatever petition thrown in front of me. Like it completely erases everything Anakin did.
Yep.
Fucking yeah. Who's the real Satan? Anyways, Bible verse. So this is from Isaiah 14, lines 12 to 15. How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. How you are cut down to the ground, you who weaken the nations. For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation on the farthest sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet you shall be brought down to Sheol, into the lowest depths of the pit.
AKA Kim Kardashian's pussy.
You think it sinks that low, or does she have enough plastic surgery to keep it all up in there?
There's not enough plastic surgery for that, buddy.
Especially in Corona times, coronavirus times, because I don't think you can get your plastic surgery touched up.
Oh, so she's looking like a sarlacc down there.
And that's being polite. So, in essence, though, that's more or less what happened. Like, it was just kind of, as we'll come to find, the story is actually a lot more simple and straightforward than expected. Like I said, a lot of the nuance to the story is mostly just made up to sell books or movies or just creative spins to it. But the Bible canon is pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, I mean, it's a boring book written by old boring people who didn't know anything about like a hero's journey or anything like that, right? So there's a reason why we need to add things to it to make it more badass, especially as society progresses. Because if you think about it, talking about there's a new-ish show on Netflix called Lucifer, right? I haven't watched it. I heard it was pretty good. But having a show, think about in the 50s, even having a show called Lucifer, dude, that wouldn't even happen. There's no way it would happen.
Oh, dude, yeah. What is there was that thing called Satanic Panic for a little while ago. That was
in the 80s, yeah.
Yeah, and even before, and that's in the 80s. And if we, like you said, turn the dial back even further, just mentioning the devil's name would like get you burnt.
Exactly. But so what I'm saying is, as society progresses, and it's okay to be more open about talking about the devil and Lucifer and Satan, and everybody's wearing all these like Satan shirts and all this stuff. You're going to tack things on to make it more interesting and make it more sellable, more profitable. And but when it comes down to brass tacks, the Bible, Satan was not that interesting.
Yeah, and no, you make a really awesome point there, because you got to keep it relevant, you got to keep it relatable. Keep in mind, all this was written in the times of like monarchies and kings and conquerors, so like to them that shit was like about as cool and as far as it got. But like in more modern media, it's a lot more personalized. It's more of the devil in your house versus the devil as a like ultimate concept.
Right. Instead of like the ultimate adversary that's around everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, very, very true. And it is nice that we live in 2020 when we can make an episode like this and not be burnt at the stake. Though that would be kind of fun, man. We could go down together in like
be martyrs.
We could be martyrs for Satan, I guess.
Martyrs for Satan, dude. I'm gonna have a new after school club that says that. Called Martyrs for Satan.
It's not a bad t-shirt idea either.
Or like a good band name.
That is a really good band name. By the way, something magical just happened. I knocked over my can of sparkling water and none of it spilled over. So I don't know if that's a sign of our souls slowly being siphoned off to Satan and now we're getting like evil powers, or just dumb luck. But I don't know. Butthole's a little puckered.
Be careful, man. I don't know what you're doing with this outline you made, but I think it's going to be, it might be just like a giant spell.
It's very possible. I mean, at this point, like, hey, man, might as well commit, right? That's what the entertainment biz is all about.
Dude, yeah, follow through, man. Follow through and just summon it.
You got a good point there. You got a good point. Oh, boy. So, with everything that happened, of course, Satan, as we know him right now, is trapped in hell with his demons forever. But Satan is a schemer and a villain, and he is always plotting for any way to get back at God and his creations.
Oh, that God and his fucking angels.
How dare you? Why I oughta? So there's a couple, like I said, a lot of this is super convoluted. There's a lot of different like explanations for what Satan's up to these days. So these are a couple possibilities of what his goals are in hell to this day. So this is basically what's he, we just talked about the Satan then. So now we're going to talk about the Satan in the now.
Yeah, what the fuck is he doing down there?
Oh, he's scheming and possibly. So first possibility is he just wants to escape. This is a Satan that either just wants a second chance at taking down God, or quite simply just wants to be free again. This is a version of Satan who is trapped in hell, wants out, and is suffering. And this is also implying that living in hell. Because I mean, sometimes we think of Satan as, a big evil dark lord over hell. He's just having a grand old time down there. But this version of him is implying that hell sucks. It's not a position of glory, leadership, or something he takes pride in, but is instead simply imprisonment and suffering for him and his demons. This is most popularly shown in Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy. In Inferno, Satan is portrayed as a giant beast chained down into a lake of ice in the ninth circle of hell, which is pretty contrasty because hell's usually considered to be on fire.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So in the poem, Satan basically, like we talked about, Satan was cast down from heaven onto earth. So in this one, it was cast right onto earth, and the crater that he made when he landed on earth is hell. That's what became hell, or the 9 circles of hell.
Oh, he was really fat.
He was a chubby boy. I mean, we said he was like a cherub, right?
Oh, he was like a little like a thick cherub, and when he just came down from the sky, dude, that crater is probably fucking as big as Earth.
Well, also keep in mind, remember back then, like being like chubby was considered to be like super attractive because that meant you were like rich and you didn't have to work. So
you could afford grapes and bread.
Ooh, and them sweet carbs.
Yeah, dude, sugar is sugar, and fucking old people love that shit.
So are we establishing that we both can agree that canonically Satan's a chubby boy?
Oh, you know what? I think he's super chubby. I think while we were talking, I looked up a picture of a cherub and they're quite adorable. So and then I just picture one of those with horns and boom, I think we got what Lucifer. So everybody thinks, okay, I know we were talking about how Lucifer's like this good looking dude and he's like the ultimate deceiver and he'll like make you like froth your vagina. I think he's just some chubby little Cupid guy with horns.
Yeah, we established him as like a red Thanos, and we all know Thanos was cut, but like no, I think I think people would be like a lot of the story will show. You'll be surprised. So back to Satan in Dante Alighieri's Inferno. Satan is, regardless of whether he began as a chubby boy or not, he is a pale shell of his former shining glory in the 9th circle because he is instead a giant 3-faced demon because the 9th circle of hell is for treachery. And the reason why he's in the dead center of it is because he committed personal treachery against God. And all those years of like suffering and stuff it takes its toll. Like, remember, he's a prisoner here. He's I almost said he's a victim in this situation.
Yeah, he didn't do nothing wrong, man. He just wanted to be free.
So it's up for debate whether or not his time in the 9th circle is what changed him into a giant 3-faced demon, or the fact that might just be part of his punishment, or maybe that's how he originally looked. Like I said, it's a point of debate that none of us really know. But we can tell you each face has a different color. So they're 3 different colored faces, and each of them are eternally chewing on 3 other people guilty of very famous treachery. And that would be Cassius, Brutus, and Judas. Cassius and Brutus were both brothers and conspirators that they stabbed what's his face, Caesar, in the back.
Oh yeah,
and Judas, of course, was the man who committed treachery against Jesus, who was the one who sold him out. Hence the term when you call somebody a Judas, they had somebody who sells you out.
Or they just love Judas Priest, dude.
Yep. This is true. Satan also too. This is something I actually thought was kind of cool. Is so you might be thinking, Nick, Satan's down there. He's frozen. Why not just, warm yourself up a bit? Just move around and melt the ice, right?
Yeah. What are you, fucking stupid, Satan?
Yeah, right. Or play some more Judas Priest and let those sick licks to kind of get things rocking, right?
Yeah, buddy. Yeah.
But in Demon 9th Circle, Satan has giant bat wings, on his back and on his heads that continually beat. And as these wings are flapping up and down, that creates a big icy wind that not only keeps him frozen, but also shoots all across all the circles of hell and can be felt even in like the highest levels.
That's pretty okay. First off, that's pretty metal.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. Now I don't want to call Dante stupid.
Oh no.
But I found a little bit of a hole here. So if he's frozen continually, how do the wings move to keep him frozen, and how is he chewing eternally on Cassius, Brutus, and Judas if he's frozen?
Oh, he's not frozen. The lake he's stuck in is frozen. Like imagine like the lake is like up to his like chest level, basically.
I see. I just pictured him in like an ice block.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what's happening. Okay, so I'm
No.
stupid. Okay,
No, that's a detail I neglected to bring up, and that's very good you brought that up because I'm sure you're not the only one who was thinking that.
I mean, I might have missed it. I'm sure Dante's a genius. All right. If you're still alive, I don't know, when was this book written? Like 700 years ago? Sorry, Dante. Didn't mean to, burst your bubble there. I think you're all right, buddy.
I'm sure he appreciates it wherever he is. So basically, though, overall, frozen Satan is basically powerless in a constant state of agony and has very little influence on the outside world. And it's this kind of Satan and this kind of thinking that it really kind of really just helps me sleep at night. It's kind of a nice thought of like, okay, the ultimate evil can't really do much to us.
I don't want to make you feel not more safe, Tasker. Okay, because
Sure.
I know you're finding comfort in this.
Yes,
but it was written as a work of fiction. Not that the other ones weren't. I'm
Mhm.
saying this one we know as a fact. It was written by some guy named Dante, which, by the way, that's a girl's name. I don't know.
Is it?
No, it's not. I just don't like this fucking guy for some reason. So I don't know, man. He might not be powerless in real life, and I don't know. But okay, don't let me get in your head though. I don't want you to freak out about it. It's all good because look. If Satan comes knocking on your door, looking to make like a fleshlight out of you, let me know, and I'll come and fight him for you. Okay.
Thank you. I'm glad to know I have your hotline. That'll help me more than Dante.
Good. Okay. Good.
Oh my God. Moving on. Another thing that Satan might be up to is seeking revenge, in that his whole purpose of being active now is to get back at humanity because he essentially blames us for his being in hell and shit.
So is it fair for me to call this incel Satan?
Yes, actually. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's do it. I like that. This is incel Satan. He blames humans for all of his problems, as do incels blame women, right? That's kind of their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, this is what turns Satan into humankind's ultimate adversary, wishing to harm and destroy humans in as many ways as possible. This incel Satan is more crafty and intelligent rather than just being a outright mindless, violent villain. So he likely has limitations to his power due to God's influence, because very clearly he hasn't risen up and just blown us all up with fire and brimstone left and right. I mean, yeah, that probably would have happened by now, I imagine, right?
Well, yeah, what do you think is okay if he has the ability to do that? What do you think he's waiting on?
Well, that's the thing is, I think. Well, the reason why. So, are you saying if he could just right now ice us all at once, why isn't he?
Yeah.
I think it's like, I think of something where it's like, when you want like revenge, but it's not enough to just like, think like Old West. Like, it's not enough to shoot him in the back, because that would label you as a coward. You want them, you don't want to just destroy them. You want to crush their spirit. You want to make sure it's like, not just like, you don't want to just kill them. You want to make sure that like they go down and historically and forever it's remembered as the worst destruction ever, or something like that.
That's pretty metal, man.
Pretty metal indeed. Because you got to be pretty cunning to do that, which incel Satan, interestingly enough, was very cunning and clever, because being that he wasn't able to just destroy us, he had to find loopholes, basically. And that's what incel Satan's more about. Like, he definitely wants us dead, but he's, he's got to be a little bit clever about it. Satan is, so in Paradise Lost, Satan is more like a radical extremist, if you can think of it that way. Where back in heaven, he believed his cause against God was actually for the greater good of his fellow angels, instead of it being more of a hubris thing. And that, weirdly enough, he might have had good intentions. But as they always say, the hell, blah, 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 blah. That's how it goes, right?
Oh, that was a good quote. My dad used to tell me that all the time when I was growing up. It really shaped who I am today.
The real quote is the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And this might be where that came from. I don't think it was from Paradise Lost exactly, but in relation.
Yeah, I can see that.
Mm-hmm. So in the poem, Satan famously claims it is better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven.
Yeah.
A very, very strong rallying cry claiming God to be a tyrant with no regard for his creations. And there's a theory that angels essentially just blindly follow God and trust him, even though he is the ultimate creator. And, that's kind of, as you should. But Satan is the one saying, let my people be free. Let them think for themselves. And that's kind of in this book, not in the Bible, in Paradise Lost, kind of Satan's like his angle. He's also shown to be very charismatic at rallying demons. And this is shown after he's cast into hell. He is formulating this plan where they want to corrupt humanity. And because at this point, Adam and Eve are still in Eden. And he's like, this is our way of getting back at him. We're going to corrupt humanity and take away the innocent of God's creation. And our revenge will be complete, or something like that. But very bravely, he decides to volunteer himself to do the duty. And in the story, there's a great abyss you have to cross from hell to earth. And he decides to solo the journey and do it himself.
If you want the job done right, you do it yourself.
You gotta, man. Like sometimes as your leader, you gotta lead by example.
Exactly. That's a good. Okay, no, I don't want to be putting anybody up on a pedestal. All right, I'm no Satan simp, but I do want to say, you know what? That's some good leadership skills, because you're correct, Tasker. Lead by example, right? Mm-hmm. Leaders eat last. That's exactly what this dude was doing.
Well, and that's the beauty of the novel or the poem, I guess, is the whole point of it was to try to humanize Satan, make him into more of an anti-hero than a villain. And I think that really just nails the point on the head of the entire book. Good job, man.
Hey, you know what, guys? Sometimes I'm kind of smart. Other times, not so much.
But you're wearing your glasses today, and it shows.
You know what? If life was a game, me wearing my glasses would just be like a +4 intellect, like item, like a stat change. Mm-hmm. So yes, but when I take them off, I look like Lenny from Of Mice and Men.
Oh, that's both funny and makes me a little sad. If you don't know the spoiler, read the book. So,
I didn't mean to fucking kill them. I just want to give them a big old hug.
Oh, let's not go into high school literature, please.
Okay, all right.
So, back to Satan. Of course, his plan to corrupt Adam and Eve was successful, but backfires, because this is the Almighty God we're dealing with. And God very quickly puts it together that it was Satan that tempted Adam and Eve to take from the apple. And I think we went over that story last episode. So if you don't remember, just listen to the other episode. And basically, in retaliation, God transforms not only Satan, but all of his followers into hideous, horrible snakes. And that's basically how they have to live for the rest of eternity.
So you're telling me that any snake ever that I see nowadays, according to this poem, is a demon?
But quite possibly, yeah.
It's fucking cool, man.
Yep, they are among us. Oh, that's my alarm to wake myself. Yeah, thank you, man. Oh yeah, just wake. Actually, I've been asleep this entire time, and I'm now awake. Yeah, dude, wouldn't that be crazy? Actually, like sleepwalk, but like sleep podcast.
And hey, man, you're doing a damn good job at it too, if I can say so. So maybe you should be asleep more often for podcasts, and I'll try it too.
Hey, I ain't gonna argue with it, man. More sleep and I get shit done. Like, fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh yes. So, and that's it basically for Incel Satan.
Incel, I'm also going to call him Jewish Incel Satan, because I know what at a certain point in there he said, "Let my people be free," and
okay,
it reminds me of "Let my people go," and I'm just like, okay, so he was definitely Jewish.
That's more specifically like a Moses kind of thing.
Right, but wasn't Moses just Jewish?
I think so. Yeah, because he helped the Jewish people. Or was he Jewish, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I actually got to break open the old Bible study stuff.
In my mind, the entire Old Testament, anybody in it's a Jew. All right.
You might not be super far off with that. Like I said, before I sink us into a hole, I'll look into that and we'll see. But for now, we'll just go off of the source. Trust me, bro.
Trust me, bro.
So, next possible goal of Satan is actually best summarized by another Bible verse. This is John 10:10, which is to kill, steal, and destroy. When talking in regards to Satan. So this is an iteration of Satan that we probably are a little bit more familiar with. A Satan who has lost himself to pure evil or was simply born from the darkness, molded by it. I was really excited to finally throw a Bane voice in there. Like, feels good.
You know what? I can see this as being a mix between that Bane, Bane, which is the reference and quote was perfect for, but like, is this more of like a chaotic, watch the world burn kind of a Joker type of Satan that we're dealing with here?
Yes, this is he's got the backstory of Bane, but the intentions of the Joker. So this is the Gotham Satan.
Gotham Satan. Okay, cool.
Awesome. So Gotham Satan blindly seeks the pleasure of causing suffering and destruction to not just humanity, but to any and all creatures living in the universe without any real creed or reason. And this is more on the side of evil cosmic being. So Red Thanos Satan, but a little bit more chaotic, pure evil entity. He's a lot more of like a beast kind of monster, like the type of Satan to just like bathe in blood and lava, essentially.
Yeah, buddy.
I feel like this is the part probably people came for. So a little bit more about him is he may have total, like complete or little containment in hell. Of course, this is more pop culture Satan. So it varies from story to story. But we imagine that this Satan is constantly sending demons, trying to possess people, and overall just trying to cause havoc as much as possible. And like we mentioned before, he probably has limitations from God. Otherwise, Earth would have been destroyed a long, long time ago. So basically, also, this is, classic Red Demon King Satan, the one that we imagine surrounded by fire, torturing human souls, enjoying the sounds of suffering, the stuff. This is the Satan we all kind of probably grew up with if you weren't raised super religiously.
He's a simple man. He likes the little things in life. Some people like to hear the sound of children's laughter. Other people, like this guy, like to hear the opposite of that, which is fine. Everybody's got their thing.
I don't know if that's fine. I think there is a point where the line is drawn.
This is a judgment-free zone. All right. So if your thing is hearing people scream in agony, look, if it keeps you out of trouble, no, man. Just do what you got to do. All right. There is a line, and we will never cross it. As long as Joker Satan doesn't start dressing up like a furry, I don't give a shit what he does.
If he truly is Joker Satan, that's how he will always appear, is in a full fursuit.
Oh, okay, well, fuck this guy then. Sounds like an asshole.
You can think of him as the embodiment of everything bad in the world. This is the purest, if it makes you upset, he probably does it.
Oh, great. So he dresses up like a furry. He doesn't eat meat, and he has a Tumblr account. Those are the three things that really piss me off.
Yeah, and who knows? I feel like something as all powerful as this one would, to any individual he appears to, it probably does create the worst version of himself. So for you, he would be exactly that.
Okay, all right. I take back everything good I ever said about this guy.
Oh boy. So unfortunately, with Red Demon Satan, it is very fun and exciting, but it's just spread so far around pop culture. We can't possibly get into every version of him. So we will unfortunately have to move on. We are now talking the biblical Satan. So this is sort of closer to what's canon in the Bible. This is less license. But basically, biblically, Satan doesn't really care much about killing people and just overall causing, mayhem and destruction and punching babies, but more is trying to turn people away from God, more of trying to turn as many people away from God as possible before he is inevitably destroyed in the apocalypse, or what is known as the last judgment.
So this Satan we're talking about strictly out of the Bible, and he's more all about deception and getting people to lose faith. And it's not as violent. It's more of like he's being violent towards people's souls and spirituality.
Yeah, he could give less of a shit about the screams of the damned or blood or fire. He is just basically just trying to scramble and get back at God as much as possible because he knows he can't beat him.
And that is almost sad.
It kind of is. And as we get it more into the tale, you'll realize this is he really is fighting a losing fight. This is petty Satan.
Petty Satan. All right, good. That's a good nickname for this little bitch.
Yeah, exactly. So petty Satan is a patient and ruthless ruler of hell with more or less free reign and loyal demonic subjects to do his bidding. The Satan can appear on Earth and usually takes different forms to tempt people better. So like we established in the previous episode, Satan is a bit of a shapeshifter. And this is the Satan that more classically would show up as like an attractive person and is more trying to get you to join his side and, renounce God. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. So that being said, he is far less violent and far less over the top and far less dramatic. Works more as a great deceiver, working to tempt humans to their sinful nature and trying to claim their souls instead of just straight on berserker murder. So that being said, though, this Satan is a little bit more on the wussy side in that there is a lot of ways to get him out of your sights. Like you could literally just say the name of God or Jesus, and reminder that this is Christian canon, so this doesn't apply all across, but in Christian canon, saying God or Jesus is that in itself is enough to get him to like leave you alone, basically.
Jesus.
So it's worth talking about the story of the temptation of Christ. This is
what kind of temptation are we talking about? Was Mary Magdalene involved?
No. This isn't the X. This is not the X videos version of it. This is instead.
I'm sorry. I was thinking of the video I saw online called The Temptation. It's the Temptations of Christ. It was plural. My bad.
We live in quite different times, but this is different temptation from the Bible. There's no smut in the Bible as far as I know. If I'm wrong, please let me know. I would love to hear about it. But this is the temptation of Christ is mostly detailed through the books of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, where the devil makes an attempt at it because we all know him. He's the great deceiver. But even the great deceiver has a white whale, his Moby Dick, to his Captain Ahab. He wants to tempt the man with the plan, Jesus Christ, also known in Christian canon as the Son of God. And a little footnote here, not every religion believes, like a lot of people believe that Jesus did exist, but not everybody believes he was the Son of God. Some say he was just a prophet. Some say he didn't exist at all. But just throwing that out there. This isn't like we're not saying this is hard fact or anything. So the story is, despite his extreme religious fortitude, as he was known for, Jesus was still only human and could very plausibly fall to sin. So the devil waited patiently for a moment of weakness. In the story of Jesus, Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist, and he knew that his future purpose was to die for the sins of man, and he knew that he was eventually going to be betrayed and horribly executed by way of crucifixion. So, knowing that his fate was coming soon, he knew he had to basically clear his body and spirit and be prepared for his ultimate fate. The way this was done was by entering the Judean desert to fast for 40 days and 40 nights. If you don't know what fasting is, it's basically surviving on water and crumbs, which was a common religious practice that was done because what it did was sort of create a connection of your physical needs, such as hunger, and your psychological and spiritual needs, in that you try to deepen your spiritual self while suffering, a lack of physical stuff. And it's supposed to sort of merge the two together a bit, like you hunger now for spirituality as much as you do for food.
That's like masturbation.
Huh?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's my fasting. That's how I become more strong with my spirit.
Do you just shoot off a prayer as you shoot off a couple ropes?
Oh, no prayers involved, man. It's just the act, It's just like, it's not a big deal. I'm just doing my part.
That sounds more like magic. I don't know if that's religious at all. You might be, unless that was your intention. I don't know.
Hey, shit, I'm not gonna bring it up. It's spiritual, all right. It connects my needs with my spirit.
Hey, man, I'm not gonna judge your journey, man. You live your best life. So, interestingly enough, if you don't know a lot about Christian tradition, Jesus entering the desert for 40 days and 40 nights is where Lent comes from, because in an effort to emulate that, Christians will give up something for 40 days. Sometimes it's like bread. Sometimes it's like chocolate or
masturbation.
Actually, no, that's actually a really big one. You'd be surprised. So
it's a dumb one to choose, though.
It's a terrible one to choose, but some people do it. And what I found from my upbringing, Lent just became the time to just like flex on how pious you were, and like, oh yeah, you only gave up chocolate. Well, I gave up blah, 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 blah. And which kind of defeats the purpose of the whole thing, in my opinion. But I mean, you know what? Hey, there's a lot of people and a lot of people have a lot of varying opinions, but yeah. So
all wrong. They're all wrong opinions, but they're opinions nonetheless.
And you heard it straight from the source, folks. So another reason too, some people wonder like why 40 days exactly. What I read was that it was to parallel the story of Elijah and Moses, who were basically major shooters in the Old Testament, who fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. And so in doing so, Jesus sort of emulated this like Old Testament story, which is, a lot religious significance is basically the point. And it was actually pretty fun little story is I actually was doing an intermittent fast while writing this part of the outline. And let's just say, because of course the devil comes to tempt Jesus in the desert, and that's really where the story is going. And dude, man, Jesus is fucking tough, man. I got to say that for certain.
What were you tempted by when you were doing your intermittent fasting? Was there a box of Twinkies on the desk?
No, it was what are those things called? Biscuits.
Biscuits?
Mm-hmm. And not like British biscuits. I mean like American biscuits. Like it's just basically like pancake dough you just throw in the oven.
Oh, like from Bisquick and shit.
Yeah. Like yeah,
oh,
a little
so
just. Dude, they're so good. Yeah, and I wanted them all morning, but I had to wait till 1 p.m. And as I was writing this, I felt like my vision blurring. I'd only been doing it for like I'd only been fasting for like 4 hours at that point. It was just, dude, 40 days is ridiculous.
Yeah, well, you know what? You're kind of like Jesus now, though.
Just one step closer. And also, there's an argument too of some say that Jesus fasted for 40 days with zero food, and the reason he made it through is because he's the Son of God. Other people who want a more realistic take say that because when you fast, you don't necessarily have to eat nothing. Sometimes they say as long as you have under 50 calories, you're okay. So he basically might have just like snacked on like little desert food, but also geographically, the Judean desert is like uninhabitable. So even if he did get food, it was barely anything.
There's no calories in sand. He could have been eating all the sand he wants.
You know what? You might be onto something here. That could be how he did it.
That won't break a fast, but it'll satiate your hunger because you'll feel like throwing up.
Yeah, well, it's like, have you ever had like a donut or something? You just felt like you just ate a bag of sand. Jesus did that literally.
Oh, he did. Yeah. Well, fuck. I mean, when you're raised in the desert, you are a desert person, and that's what you do.
Dude, nothing but respect, man. Like nothing. I don't know whatever everyone believes in, but like, dude, this guy, He's a tough dude, as you will see, and we will continue to tell you why. The devil appeared to Jesus 3 times. Well, maybe not exactly. Well, I don't know. We'll just say for my take on it, the devil appeared to him 3 different times. Generally portrayed as a human in most of the art in the day, they portrayed the devil as appearing as a human. So over the course of 40 days, in these 3 visits, Satan brought a different temptation for Jesus. The first was to turn the rocks around him into bread to eat in order to break his fast. And as I mentioned before, if you've never fasted before, that is a hella sweet offer.
I mean, shit, free bread that just turned, and he's already been eating rocks anyway, so you may as well just eat the one that turned into bread.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a big one. Second temptation was basically saying, telling him to climb. They told him to jump off of a pinnacle, which can mean like the roof of like a big building or like a giant church or something like that. And basically saying, if God's got your back, you should jump off a big building and see if angels really will save you. That was the second temptation. The third is Satan takes Jesus to a tall mountain that lets him see all the kingdoms of the world at once and saying, bow down to me and you will rule all, like going, Mufasa on him, basically. Like, yo, bow to me and all of this will be yours. Like, you will inherit this whole kingdom. The reason why this is actually pretty clever stuff is each of these temptations represents turning away from a divine virtue in favor of the 3 basic human temptations. So even if he said yes to one of them, he just completely destroys his whole like position as the Son of God. So these temptations, though, so like just to kind of get a little bit more in depth, the first temptation, which is the rock bread, would be essentially hedonism, choosing physical needs over your spirituality. And there's also some conjecture saying that possibly the devil tempted Jesus with this thing last towards the end of his 40 days and 40 nights, because that is when he would be the hungriest. Temptation number 2, which is the telling Jesus to, yeet himself off of a cliff and get saved by angels, would be egoism, or believing that you're mightier than your purpose, or even worse, mightier than God. Just kind of, having an ego. Temptation 3, though, is the devil himself, or materialism. Generally speaking, the devil exchanges your soul for power and wealth and material things. So if Jesus were to take that last temptation, he would have all the world's power, all the possessions he could ever want, but he would have to forsake God himself. So just to reiterate, the 3 basic human temptations are also known as the world, the flesh, or the devil.
Woo! That sounds like a new podcast that we should make.
What would we call it? The world, the flesh, and the devil.
Flesh and the devil, dude. And we'll just have 3 of us. One of us will pick one, and we just talk about how different ways we can tempt people to do stupid shit.
Well, I know you would be the devil. I'll take my claim on the world, maybe.
All right, and then my dick can be the flesh.
Perfect. There we go. See, okay, new podcast coming next week. So basically, long story short, this episode isn't about Jesus. So basically, he resisted all of them, made it through, and he had a sick burn in a response to everything the devil had to offer. And that was pretty much the end of the devil failed. That's basically long story short.
Because he's a little bitch.
Yeah, he is kind of a little bitch.
Like, especially in this iteration, he's a little bitch, and he doesn't know how to properly tempt Jesus.
Exactly. He had one shot, man. The man was starving. He knew he was going to die soon, and he still couldn't hack it.
Although we aren't giving enough credit to Jesus himself, because the willpower is crazy.
Dude, that's insane that he was able. Like I said, I was fasting for 4 hours and I almost broke. This guy did it. This guy was probably on like day 39, and the devil was like, dude, turning boulders into bread, and you can bet that shit looked tasty.
Yeah, he probably had like some butter on it. And if you know what he should have done, and this is how you know the devil fucked up, is he should have made it garlic bread. If it was garlic bread,
Oh, dude, then the devil would have won a long time ago.
Yeah, but you know what? Doesn't have good taste. He fucked up. So that's his fault.
Exactly. So that pretty much concludes the devil of the present. So we have talked about the origin / the past, the present, but now we need to look into the devil of the future, which is the final segment of this episode before we move on to the more occult spooky stuff. As we all know, the end of the world may be coming sooner than later. So let's examine Satan's role in the end of all times, which is, oddly enough, a lot less exciting than I expected.
That's disappointing, but like we said, it's the Bible, and back then this shit was wild for them though. Like it's kind of like okay, think about it like this. If we today watched a classic sci-fi movie like The Forbidden Planet or I don't know, maybe the original War of the Worlds or something like that, right? It would be like the stupidest shit we've ever seen. But back then, people were probably committing suicide from pure panic.
Oh,
And they did.
seppuku right in the theater. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah, like apparently when because War of the Worlds was originally read like when they so it was a book, right? And then they broadcasted it. I forget if it was on Halloween or something like that, but they broadcasted on the radio as like a live drama, but they didn't tell anybody it was a live drama. So everybody thought the world was ending from aliens. So people started like offing themselves and stuff.
Oh my God. I heard about that. I didn't know people actually killed themselves.
Yeah, so it was it was like Y2K. Yeah, it's crazy, man. So that it's boring, but you think of it in the mindset going forward that pretend like you're an old desert person from like the BC era, and then it'll be scary as shit to you.
Mm-hmm. Put yourself into the mindset and get yourself in character and ready. But also, and that's a good point you bring up. And also another point that I thought was really kind of shocking to me about all this stuff, not shocking, like more disappointing, was that actually the apocalypse is not really exactly like Satan isn't really in the center of it. He's just a part of it. Like the Armageddon and all that stuff is like, it's kind of bigger than all of this, which I thought was really interesting. So unfortunately, we won't get into like a lot of, like, if you ever saw the movie This Is the End, like, unfortunately, none of that really happens in the Bible. None of that really, like, that's all kind of Hollywood fluff.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, it sells, right?
It does.
Funny movie. It did well, but it did well because they added on stuff that's not necessarily canon, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also on top of that too, another reason why the apocalypse involving Satan is actually a lot less exciting than expected is because actually in most theological canons, Satan loses and he's destined to lose. There's no real like awesome like fireballs and people being incinerated because Satan doesn't even get really the chance to do it. And I will explain why. So, as we mentioned last episode, in the book of Revelation, there are 3 names that Satan, that basically references Satan or his moves preceding and during the supposed apocalypse. You might remember them as the dragon, the beast, or the false prophet.
Yeah.
Judas Priest. So, as a forewarning, as I said, it's not super exciting, but it's also very weird and confusing because the book of Revelation is more than anything a prophecy of things to come, as opposed to many other books in the Bible, which tell of things that have already happened. Prophecies tend to be very, they're riddles usually. So just kind of keep that in mind that this is basically a prophecy that has not been fulfilled yet. So maybe it isn't as literal as it seems, but you can develop your own opinion. So I'm just going to jump right into it and we'll see what we all think. So let's start with the dragon. He is a red, 7-headed, 7-horned representation of Satan, fated to seek out the woman of the apocalypse and devour her son. This is supposed.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. This is supposed to fail. And another thing too is the dragon's appearance is it's really unclear where it takes place in the timeline of things. So I'm not really sure if this is like preceding the apocalypse or during the apocalypse, but at some point there is a woman of the apocalypse who has a son, and the dragon is supposed to try to kill her. God intervenes and basically spirits the child away into heaven, and the woman escapes into the wilderness. The dragon pursues the woman, to which God gives wings, and the woman flies away and escapes. The dragon is filled with rage, and him and his followers charge into heaven, fighting what is known as the inevitable war in heaven, or basically like, so Lucifer fought, God once. This would be like the second one. So, and this is over the child, the Armageddon child or whatever the fuck, and more or less plays out like the first time. Getting what was it? Curb stomped by Doc Martens? Was that it?
That was it. Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, basically. And the dragon fails and is cast back into hell. Now, this story could be very metaphorical, possibly, as the woman of the apocalypse could just simply be a stand-in for the church, and the child as a representation of the most pious followers of Christianity or saints. So this story could be more of an allegory of the devil's attempt at taking down the church. And it is, like I said, it's kind of indiscernible if this is just simply a different version of the story of Lucifer falling from heaven, or a second attempt by Lucifer in the form of a giant dragon.
Oh, very interesting.
Ah, yes, but the plot thickens. Sometime after this, a great and powerful being known as the Beast is said to, quote from Revelations 13:1, rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Exactly. And that is exactly what I thought when I read it. He is said to have been
badass.
Things are getting a little metal here, which is good. So the Beast is said to have been given his power by the fallen dragon, who is possibly just simply Satan himself. The Beast appears in the book of Revelation after the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, after the breaking of the 7 seals and all that crazy, cool, bad stuff that's supposed to happen. Like I said, I would get into it more, but we're going to focus more on where Satan is involved. And remember, the apocalypse and the end of the world is bigger than Satan. And that's something that's a really big thing I want to emphasize with this. So, apocalypse, if you did not know, comes from a Greek word meaning revelation. So, in a sense, the book of Revelation is basically the book of apocalypse. But apocalypse, we tend to think, because we've all watched movies our entire lives, the sky shattering and earth falling apart and all that stuff, which I don't doubt is a part of it. But apocalypse, meaning revelation, is more of a revealing of the final stages of God's plan for humanity and the planet Earth, which is a lot less exciting, a lot less cool, and a little bit more withdrawn. But hey, man, I didn't write this shit.
You suck.
Boo me if you'd like, but I'm just reading what I found. So, continuing onward, though, the Beast is just the beginning, because the Beast, of course, is a giant monster who speaks in the tongue of dragons. Something like that, I'm sure. The second beast, also known as the false prophet, is said to emerge from the earth. So the first beast is from the ocean. This one comes from the planet Earth. Planet Earth. I mean like the earth, like the ground. And basically, the second beast, or the false prophet, acts as an agent for the beast. The false prophet is said to resemble a lamb who speaks similar to the dragon. So I'm guessing a lot of just like hissing.
Lamb?
Yeah, he looks like a lamb, but he speaks like a dragon, is what they said. So I don't know what
so
that.
Cool, dude. I'm just picturing like a little lamb hopping about with like a bell around his neck and stuff. All of a sudden, he opened his mouth and is like, "Anyways, how many Christians are we killing today?"
Actually, you might be onto something. That might be exactly the impression they were trying to make with us.
That's fucking cool.
But the thing about the false prophet is that he is supposed to perform great signs and miracles, that the beast is a creature to be worshipped. Keep in mind, this is during like a lot of end time things are beginning, and the beast emerges a great and powerful monster And then suddenly another creature shows and says, no, this is your Messiah. That's basically the job of the false prophet. What the false prophet is basically trying to do is, like we said with petty Satan, is he's trying to get as many people on the side of the beast as possible before the inevitable true second coming begins, which of course the second coming is, in Christian theology, Jesus coming back to earth to basically take all of his followers to be judged and raised in heaven while the earth gets destroyed.
Oh man, I just had a fucking revelation of myself just now.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so the lamb, right? It looks like a lamb, speaks like a dragon.
Right.
So if I remember correctly, the Antichrist, isn't the Antichrist supposed to kind of like, resemble somebody who's like charismatic and attractive, kind of like Hitler, right? And then, but not with like the same mentality as Hitler. So, you know what I mean? Like, so, okay, hold on, it's in my head. Let me get it out. Okay, so
You got this.
The lamb is an analogy for somebody who's unsuspecting.
Right.
It's like a dragon. The true self of the lamb, or the true self of this person, is evil, or like of the devil, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is the Antichrist the false prophet?
We will get into the Antichrist very soon, but you are correct. In essence, there is a lot of similarities between the false prophet and the Antichrist. And as we will soon see, the Antichrist is a sort of more condensed packaging of this whole story. And it's a little bit more of a more digestible and easy to follow, less Lord of the Rings, essentially.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and we will get to that. So in Book of Revelation, however, basically the false prophet, if he is able to convince you to worship the beast, you will be bestowed the mark of the beast. 666. We will get more into satanic symbology next episode, because we do not have the time for that.
Yeah, we will. We're going to be getting into all kinds of spooky shit next time.
Absolutely. But if you have the mark of the beast, by the time the second coming happens, for lack of a better term, you're fucked.
Oh.
Basically. And there is also such a thing. There's the mark of the beast. There's also such a thing as the mark of heaven. Granted, I did not spend a whole lot of time trying to figure out what exactly that is. But also, whenever I tried to Google it, just a bunch of Naruto shit appeared. And that was pretty upsetting.
Oh my God. Okay, here. First off, I know what Naruto is.
Yeah.
We've talked about it in personal conversations with me before. Yeah, you didn't pick up on social cues when we were talking about these things. So I was forced to sit there and listen to the Naruto stuff. So I know it's an anime, right? I know it's a Japanese cartoon.
Right.
Made for children. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you had to bring it into an already studious episode, right? That I'm focusing today, right? I have to focus. I took my Ritalin this morning. I'm ready to go because I feel like I'm back. I'm 6 years old again, and I'm in Bible school.
Yes.
But the fact you had to snake Naruto into this somehow, you couldn't go one fucking episode without talking about Japanese cartoons, could you? What's wrong with you?
I think I have successfully worked anime into so far every episode of our Satan series. So you're welcome.
And you know what the saddest part is, Tasker? We're 20 episodes in right now. I've been doing this with you 20 weeks. Yet every time you do it, it still surprises me.
Doesn't get any easier, huh?
It hurts.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but that is not enough to deter me. So get used to it, buddy.
All right, fine. All right. Well, we can discuss this after we stop recording, but you can continue. You can continue with your lecture, Professor Tasker.
Oh, I most certainly will. So, Mark of the Beast, Mark of Heaven, basically the second coming eventually happens. It said that Jesus is to return with an army of heaven. And at this point, anything evil and satanic is pretty much like donezo. And what specifically happens to the beast and the false prophet is that they are cast into a lake of fire, which my take in it is that the lake of fire is not hell, but is instead way worse. And that's a place where hell, because as you can see, like Satan can leave and kind of come and go as he please and stuff. But with the lake of fire, I'm assuming there's no getting out of there. Like when you're there, you're sealed.
Oh, all I can add to this is I know as a fact that Jesus had a second coming, right? And that's what's going to spark all this. But I'm about to have a third coming after we record here. So.
God fucking damn it. Oh, wow. I actually recoiled in my seat for a second there. You should be proud.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So you might be asking, the false prophet and the beast are in the lake of fire. What about the dragon?
What about the dragon? I was wondering that this whole time.
Oh, well, let me tell you. The dragon, which at this point, like I said, this is me just kind of like trying to articulate it as best as possible, because it's very convoluted and very kind of all over the place of what symbolizes what means what. Is the dragon literal? Is it figurative? We'll just say, for the sake of argument, the dragon is basically just a form of Satan. And after the dragon lost and was cast back into hell, him and Satan become one again. So the dragon is not cast into the lake of fire, but is instead sealed away for 1,000 years. And in this 1,000 years, that is when basically Christian saints are resurrected and are set to rule the world, which to me is probably what caused all that conquest that happened in like the days of Alexander the Great, because they believed Christians were supposed to rule the world. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know if that's true or not, but it makes sense.
A good connection.
Yeah, thank you.
Connection there for sure. But I mean, okay, I can make all the jokes I want about how I want the dragon to rule the world, but if I had to choose between the two, the Saints sound like pretty cool people. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, maybe I'd go with them.
Possibly. Well, and here's another thing too, is 1,000 years. That's a pretty long time, right?
Yeah, I mean, relatively, but what is time, Tasker?
An illusion.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. But it is still time, which means it will come to an end, in that Satan will be released one day and make one last attempt to deceive humanity against God. He will fail. And this is where I was it was kind of a blue balls. I was a little let down, but like they set it up like this huge, like coming back, and it's just him coming out like all like beaten, bruised, emaciated, and just tries to pull one last trick. And after this, that's when he's just finally cast into the lake of fire along with all of his subordinates, forever banishing him from all the righteous people. And with that, every Christian is resurrected and judged to live in a new world without death, fear, or pain. In other words, the story of Satan is a happy ending for humanity and a sad ending for the devil.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing, a little all over the place. It feels very mythological and traditional, but also keep in mind the book of Revelation was written in the year 96 CE. So with the greater understanding of science and the universe like we do now, this story, of course, feels more like it could be more symbolic or metaphorical, because keep in mind, it's a prophecy. When is a prophecy ever told it exactly as it happened? Like, who knows? The dragon might be just like a dude in an alligator suit. Like, who knows? It's just, we don't really know exactly what this means, because it's a prediction of the future. But it's very possible that this was just a narrative it was only meant to be a simple tale of good triumphing over evil, because complex, juicy anime plots didn't exist back then.
Here we go again, and you just bring it right back up, like you flittered over it like a butterfly, just kind of brushed over it real quick, thinking nothing of it. Right?
I wasn't gonna do that. I wasn't gonna do that second one, but I just couldn't resist.
You know, I'm not gonna get into it, Tasker. Look, my blood pressure's high already. Right? You're gonna make it higher. I have 2 gray hairs on my head, by the way. I'm in my 20s, so I'm stressed out. You are going to add a 3rd gray hair every time you bring up anime in this podcast.
That's a badge of honor in my book. And honestly, hey, it might be the same to some of our listeners out there. And if so, let us know.
Yeah. You know what? I want you guys to use our platforms to talk about what your favorite anime is. Will you do that favor for me? Also, while you're at it, anybody want to? I'm opening up a GoFundMe for a new fursuit that I was gonna buy. While you're at it, throw a couple bucks into that.
I wonder if you listen to us from episode 1 to now, you can actually measure both of our slow and gradual mental decline.
Mine was not gradual. I think I dropped off like 3 episodes ago.
Entirely possible, but yeah, a little food for thought.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, but okay, I will ignore the anime thing.
Oh, thank you. So in that case, let's finish strong. This is the last section of quite possibly our longest episode yet. We're going to talk about the Antichrist.
Yeah, but it's just another fucking Antichrist.
So, interestingly enough, we'll start by saying the Antichrist originally was mentioned in the Bible as anybody, and I mean anyone, who just simply denies the word of God and seeks to undo his good message. But eventually, sort of like how Ha-Satan became the Satan or the Satan of Satans, the Antichrist became the ultimate denier of the word of God. In other words, the devil. So there is a little bit of, like most of the stuff in this episode, there's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of like this he said, she said. So there's a lot of different takes on what the Antichrist is. He can be known as Little Horn, which is a reference to him being small but deadly. The man of sin. Yeah, right. He's a little cutie sometimes.
Okay, look, I didn't want to go that far. Should I get you like a rented by the hour room, you two, and maybe you can I don't know.
If you have the ability to do that, it's already too late.
Gross.
So of course he's known as Little Horn, the man of sin, or the false Christ. He is an anti-Messiah set up to deceive humanity before the second coming of Christ. And like you said before, he is essentially the false prophet, but with no beast to talk for. He is his own beast, in essence.
Fuck yeah.
Mm-hmm. There are similar characters in different religions. Like there's his name is Dajjal, if I might be fucking that up, in Islam, which is basically the closest equivalent to an Antichrist. But
I think I know how to pronounce that.
Oh, how?
Oh.
Beautiful. This is why we don't have any listeners in the Middle East. But so as we said before, for continuity's sake, we've come this far. We're just sticking with the Christian version, and because to keep everything all tightened together. The Antichrist is said to perform miracles and give signs that he is actually the second coming. So basically, if you hear of a second coming happening, more likely that's the Antichrist
happening right now.
Oh, good God. I'm glad you can enjoy yourself while working. So, as he said, the story is a little convoluted. Antichrist's story is, like we mentioned before, a much more simplified, condensed, and less fantasy version of the Book of Revelation Apocalypse, which I believe is to make the end time feel a little bit more personal, a little more plausible, and a little bit scarier. And well, it's because he's just a human who could just walk into your house for all you know.
He could. The thing about the Antichrist, and I'm an expert because early in high school, my gamer tag on Xbox 360 was Antichrist 106.
Beautiful.
He was the type of dude who they say would most likely be a politician, a great politician, or so we thought, right?
Right.
Fighting for human rights, for our rights as humans, a leader of the people, charismatic, good looking, but it's just like what we've been talking about this whole series. It's classic deception. And it's something. So you'll open his doors, just like Tasker said. You'll open your doors right up to him, and he can come into your house because he's going to be charming, and he's going to seem safe, and he's going to seem trustworthy, but he's just going to diddle you.
Oh,
Your spirit.
100%. And yeah, and he's going to have no qualms about it too. He's going to love it. So there is a telling that the Antichrist is supposed to, like Jesus, have been born in Jerusalem and will be hailed as a great miracle worker and will be highly revered before, like you said, rising to power and eventually having political control over most of the world. It is predicted that he will be in the state for about 3.5 years, and in that state will be persecuting Christians more than anybody, causing much more torturing, suffering, and murder than the world has ever seen, and right under our noses.
It's going to be some wild shit.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I don't know about the whole Jerusalem thing. I mean, that seems a little racy in my opinion. And this don't be just because somebody's from Jerusalem doesn't mean they're the Antichrist. Let's not go. I'm pretty sure that's like what Hitler did as his platform. So let's just, we're jumping into this topic. Let's have a little caution here. Let's not blame people who don't need to be blamed.
Okay, I will not say anything. I will not say that if you are from Jerusalem, you're the Antichrist and that it belongs to the Christians and not the Muslims.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying, look, if you guys want another crusade, I will pick up my sword again. That's all I'm saying. All right. The Holy Land belongs to the Christians.
Oh my fucking God.
Fight me. Go on our Facebook and yell at me about it.
I cannot endorse this opinion, but we, like you said, we're a safe space for free speech. You're allowed to say what you want, but
yes, Fultz.
Oh, good God. So if you want to join a crusade, Nick's your guy. I'm sure you guys will be meeting under bridges somewhere.
Yeah, because if they see me with my sword out again, I'm off. I'm back on this. I'm back in the clink because I'm on probation right now for the last crusade I tried to do. Didn't even make it onto the airplane. I was like, 1 ticket to Jerusalem. And they're like, sir, you have a sword attached to your hip. Said, yeah, big whoop, dude. I'm going to fucking take back the Holy Land. And then they give me the slammer. It got any sense.
Oh, it's an adorable act of terrorism you're trying to commit.
Thank you. I even had the helmet on, and I had like the white. I had like the chainmail with the white tunic with the red cross on. I was ready to go.
That is pretty fun. But we will continue. We'll keep up. We'll catch up on your progress on that. You'll have to keep us updated.
Okay, I'll let you guys know.
Oh my God. So eventually, though, back to the story. The second coming, the real true second coming, will happen, and very quickly he will be dethroned and destroyed and cast in the lake of fire. And that's when the true final judgment will begin. So as you can see, a lot of parallels between the Book of Revelation story and this, which is the more like, one could say, the more human story, something that feels a little bit more plausible to the people. And as we come to know, the tale, it ages with the times, essentially. But that's still kind of a little bit more on the biblical end. So let's dive a little bit into the more pop culture end, which was the Antichrist idea popularized through movies such as Rosemary's Baby or The Omen, where the Antichrist is a demonic child, where in some cases he was born of a jackal or to a chosen woman who either had the child switched out at birth or was simply impregnated by the devil herself.
Nice.
Yeah. It does make for good movies. The child will tend to be very malicious and violent in nature, desiring only to live into adulthood and fulfill his purpose, which is beginning the apocalypse, which in this version, like, okay, so just a reminder, I know I keep reiterating, but I think it's worth reminding and saying that this is the Hollywood version, where the apocalypse is fire, brimstone, destruction, demons coming and punching your babies in the face and all that stuff. So this is in that. So this is all like not really biblically or even close to being biblically canon. Wow. We really are back in school, huh?
No, I mean, dude, I've been taking notes this whole time. I usually tell the audience to take notes. I assume they're already doing it. I've been taking Cornell style notes this whole fucking time. And I got to tell you, I'm confused as shit.
Yeah, as you should be, man. It's a very confusing topic because now we're going into the fake shit that people made to sell it better. So,
cool.
Yeah. Moving forward, though, It's hard really to say what kind of apocalypse would happen when this Rosemary Baby Antichrist is able to fulfill his prophecy, because in more often than not in these movies or books or whatever, we never get to see him do it. We never get to see the Antichrist fulfill his purpose. In fact, in some versions, he actually is averse to his duty, and the Antichrist chooses to avoid his fate entirely and use his powers against Satan. Yeah. There's also some conjecture over the Antichrist being the devil's son or simply the devil himself. Or another take is that the Antichrist is the devil inhabiting an innocent body, which it creates a conundrum because the heroes, they want to kill the devil, but it will be at the cost of an innocent if the devil is in fact just possessing somebody. But in also some other cases, the Antichrist might not even be demonic in nature. It might actually be just somebody who causes the end of the world in any which way, even by accident. So the guy who pushes the button that brings the end of the world, one could even consider that the Antichrist. Or maybe the person who accidentally summons Satan and begins the apocalypse could also be considered an Antichrist. So they don't have to be necessarily Satan incarnate or the son of Satan, but just a bumbling idiot who fucked it up for everybody.
Shit. Well, that puts a lot of pressure on everybody not to do anything stupid.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you're not making I feel it's pretty easy to avoid satanic ritual. Just don't be making blood circles and pentagrams, and you should be fine.
Look, man, I don't come over to your house and start knocking the colored pencils and shit out of your hand when you're working on your career, right? Tell me how to live my life, buddy.
Hey, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but if you're the one who causes the apocalypse in episode 70 after 69 when you're abducted by aliens and they tell you how to do it, I'm going to be upset.
I'm just fulfilling what my prophecy and what I'm doing what needs to be done. All right.
Well, I'm glad you have a sense of purpose.
It's a final solution, if you will.
Jesus Christ. I'm laughing at my own joke because I said Jesus and we're talking about something.
Yeah, that was good.
Thank you. So, as we touched on before, most stories, the apocalypse ends up being averted or ends up in favor of heaven. So realistically, and unfortunately, well, maybe fortunately, there is no telling what would happen for sure if Satan were to be successful. We don't know because it's not destined to happen. That's why there's so many different takes on it, and there's so many different versions of it, is because it's technically not supposed to happen. So it's something that has constantly captured the imagination of writers and artists all across the board. It's been something we've seen in art for decades and decades and decades, but a lot of it is really just speculation, and most details on the Antichrist and the devil's involvement in the fate of the planet Earth, even theologically, is sketchy at best. And that there is the end of part 2 of Satan and the Devil.
Yeah, buddy. That was okay. Yes, it was historical, but damn, it's an interesting story because not a lot of everybody knows about the devil. Everybody knows about Satan and Christianity, but nobody knows all the details. And that's some good shit, man.
Ah, yes, dude. Holy crap. That was a hell of an episode. You see what I did there?
Oh, I saw what you did there, and it pisses me off.
I am on fire and brimstone.
Okay, all right. Do one more, and you're kicked off the podcast. Do one more.
Let's see. No, I don't have it. If it comes to me, I'll think of it.
Okay. Guys, thank you for joining us for this part 1 and part 2 so far. It's been a deep dive into the look of Satan and the devil. Tasker's done an incredible job on the research for this one.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude, you did killer.
Thank you. Yeah, this is something like I said in the first episode, I have a lot of interest in how this all worked, and I hope you all were able to learn as much as I did. It was a lot more different than I expected, a little bit more grounded and a little bit more less metal, but that's why we are saving that for part 3, where we get into the occult, rituals, symbols, how to protect yourself from the devil. And we're even going to go into Satanists and why they are different from Satan worshipers, and maybe a little bit of rock and roll.
Hell yeah, dude. Next episode is going to be fucking crazy. Now, this is going to be a little bit more my jam when it comes to when you talk about Satan. The first thing that comes to my head is not Lucifer and his fall from heaven. It's mostly the stuff that's going to be in the next episode, especially the difference between Satanists and devil worshippers. I know we've said it before. I'm not going to get into it, but there's a big difference. We're going to talk about that. Really hyped for next episode. I hope you guys are too.
Yeah, it should be good. A lot more blood, a lot more gore, a lot more spooky, dark shit. The stuff that made people concerned for our safety to begin with. We are gonna do it. It's just not this week. It will be next week. And by the way, that will be on a Wednesday because we do new episodes every Wednesday. If you haven't seen our pattern yet.
Yeah, if you're on the spectrum and you haven't noticed that we do new episodes every Wednesday, that's the day it comes out, boys.
Oh yeah, so look forward to that, everybody. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, please rate and review. That would be super much appreciated. Great to hear your feedback. Spotify, if you could shoot us a follow, that would be sweet as well. On Instagram, we have @CEOTPK. Our Twitter is @CEOTPK1. Hit us up on Facebook, Close Encounters of the Podcast Kind, or CEOTPK. And if you have a lot of very strong opinions you'd love to make heard to us live, not quite in person because we are still in quarantine, go on our Discord at discord.gg/lowercase b, number 6, capital C, capital T, number 5, capital M, capital X.
Also, guys, please send us your local legends if you have any. Email is ceotpk1@gmail.com. We'd love to get those from you guys.
Yes, tell us your stories, things that keep you up at night that will probably keep me up at night too.
Oh, and one last thing, Count Chocula still in the works. I use a special computer to write the outline for the Count Chocula episode. It's like a completely separate computer. I spent $2,500 on it for this outline.
Yeah, it's untraceable. That's what really makes it important.
Exactly, and it has a self-destructing hard drive if I press a certain button. But the problem is, I pressed the button on accident, so all of our shit went to shit.
Yeah, we're raising money to get another one right now. That's kind of where we're at on the research.
Yeah, so we're going to be starting from scratch. I still have some articles saved up and bookmarked on different computers. So we're working on it. Just know it's still there.
It'll be good when it gets there. Thank you for being patient. It's I think it's going to give this episode a run for its money. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see when we get there.
That's right. And just remember, guys, I don't care if you're from Jerusalem. I don't care where you're from. Just remember that the truth is out there.
No, it's not. I don't know if I'd call it comic gold. Maybe comic silver.
I'll take silver. I'm fine with silver.
Perfect.